Wow, look, a big pile of money. Ooh, Ceazor. Ah, a ghost. Ceazor, if you lend me your money, I'll let you borrow it. Huh? Hello and welcome to Ceazor's Snack Sandwich. Today we're taking a look at lending platforms or lending protocols. There are three that we're going to look at today, and they're on the Ethereum network. Well, one of them is actually also on Binance Smart Chain. So I'm going to take a quick look at each of them and compare them slightly, but I'm not going to go really deep on each of them. Okay, so let's swing over to the first one. The first one we have today is Compound or Compound Finance. Link in the description, as always. Let's head in. So on Compound Finance, I've actually utilized this with this wallet here, with my public wallet here. And what I have done is I've stuck some Uni tokens in here. Now, what does this protocol do? What do they all do, actually? Basically, is you supply some tokens here. This is the selection that you can supply on Compound. And you earn some interest on each of those. So I've supplied Uniswap here, and I'm currently earning an APY of 2.54. And I can use it as collateral against a borrow, and I can borrow any of these tokens. And I've used it as collateral to borrow ETH. So as you can see, my APY on the supply exceeds the APY on the borrow. So even though I have, I'm still exposed to Uniswap's price action. So if I believe Uniswap is going to go up high, which I do eventually, hopefully at least, I can maintain the exposure to this. But it's kind of hard to make more yield with Uniswap. So I put Uniswap in here and I borrow ETH, and I use the ETH to produce yield. Now most people would probably elect to use the DAI because stablecoins are a little easier to make yield with things like Yearn vaults or stuff like that. But I chose to use ETH because, well, I found an opportunity to use ETH to yield farm. Now, the price of ETH doesn't matter about this. Like, the price of ETH might go up or down, but I will always owe the same amount of ETH. So you have to think in the units of what you owe. Like, I'm going to have to give back the same amount of ETH, of 0.4511 ETH to this borrowing. So it doesn't matter what the value of ETH is, but it does matter what the value of ETH is versus the value of Uniswap, because that's how this Compound Finance works, is it compares the US dollar value of what you supply versus what you owe. Now, there's a liquidation borrow, thing here. Like, if I were to borrow, let's say, I still have a lot of space here to borrow more. I have a total borrowing rate of 363. Now, each of the tokens that you lend to a protocol, they all have different, levels of safety that Compound or the other protocols have decided. So not all of them will allow you to borrow 100%. Usually it's around 60, 70, 80, depending on the coin and then depending on the protocol. This is something you're going to have to look at individually for each coin. That's something you can do while you're doing your own homework. But so as the price of Uni goes down, this will move closer. As the price of ETH goes up, this will move closer towards the end where I don't want it to go. Once it goes here, people can start liquidating my debt and buying out my debt, which is something I don't want them doing. Now let's take a look. So let's say I wanted to borrow some more DAI. This protocol does have a safe max. So I could click that and borrow $81. What I like to do is if I clicked this to borrow, I would maybe take this down to something else, maybe 70. That way I know I'm a little bit even more safe to the price action. But another reason why people like to borrow DAI, USD, or Tether is because the price against US dollar doesn't move. It's pegged to the US dollar. So you don't have to worry about this going up and this going down and this gap being quite large. So what I've done is probably not the ideal thing to do, but that's what I've done. So I've done it. Now, why did I choose to supply Uni here, like at 2.5? When I first supplied Uni here, it was at like 15, 16%. So I'm not sure exactly why people were borrowing Uni at that time. This number here is created based on demand and supply. So if there's a lot of uni in here and nobody's borrowing it, then they don't give you as much, and vice versa, right? If everybody wants it and there's not a lot in here, the price will, the APY will go up. It's all done with the algorithm that the protocol has designed. Again, do your homework if you want to know what that means, or what that algorithm means, and you want to do all the math. I don't really care that much because, I just don't. Anyhow, so this is what Compound is doing. You supply these tokens, you borrow these tokens. Now, anytime you actually interact with this, anytime you supply or anytime you borrow, you gain comp tokens, C-O-M-P, comp tokens. Now, let's take a look at CoinGecko. Okay, so here we are at the comp token on CoinGecko. Look at the price action. It's pretty stable. It's pretty good. Like, let's go to 14 days. It's pretty level. Of course, there's volatility, but it's not terrible. There's no dump. It hasn't gone ever down lower than $84. So the comp token's a pretty valuable token. They have a good supply number, current 10 million, but they haven't let them all out yet. So anyhow, so you get rewarded with comp tokens simply by using the protocol, and you can do what you want with these comp tokens. You can use them for voting, and you can also redeem them. So I can collect them. So this is the comp balance that I've earned, and this is how many I have. I can collect them and use them for voting. Okay, like I said, just a quick look. Okay, so let's move over to the next one. The next one is AAVE. Now AAVE, if you take a look at the APYs, let's compare some of the APYs. Let's go straight into deposit. I don't have anything in here, so my dashboard will be empty, but let's go into deposit and see. So DAI 4.9, back over to Compound. DAI 3.97. AAVE, let's check another one. Uni, it's got nothing right now. Let's try something a little special like USDT 4.95, comp 6.3. So you guys can see it depends on who's using it and what they're using it for. The numbers are different. You have to shop around. Okay, now they're going to change all the time too, so it's kind of hard to know exactly which one to use and when to use it. Now there is an app out there called InstaDApp. Now I'm not going to go through that right now. That's a topic for an entire whole video, but it allows you to jump between these around. So like if you're big time, you have a lot of money and you want to save, you want to get the best interest, you want to get the lowest debt, you can move your debt and loanings around and through that InstaDApp. Okay, so one of the things about AAVE that's different is the Tokenomics. This one rewards you with tokens, comp tokens. AAVE doesn't. AAVE doesn't reward you with tokens, but they tend to pay a little bit more on average. But they do have a AAVE token, and if you have the AAVE token, you can take it in here to staking. So if you have some AAVE tokens, you can come into the staking here and put them in. I don't have any AAVE tokens, so I can't really show you. And you can stake them. It says here there's a cooldown of 10 days, and you can claim your AAVE tokens here. So they will reward you in AAVE tokens. So let's take a look at the FAQs here. It says the purpose of the staking, I'm not going to read all this, but the purpose of the staking for you is, for AAVE, is that it gives them like a safety fund, so to speak. They can use it in the case of some major problems happen. They can use the value of those tokens to, offset that risk, to cover those losses or something. I'm not sure. I guess this would be something that would be completely voted upon by the governance in a DAO vote. We need to fix this problem. Should we use the safety fund? Now, there's a risk to that. That's a risk, right? So they're going to pay you with AAVE tokens, and it says here they're going to give 400 AAVE tokens per day, split it between all the stakers. So this is something you're going to have to look at very closely and find out, how many people are staking and how much you would get. Or you can just, if you don't want to dump your AAVE tokens, it's better to stick them in here and maybe get more AAVE tokens. Okay, or you can try to find somewhere else that can, or let you lend them and to people who want to borrow them to do this. Okay, And the next one that I'd like to talk about is Cream. So Cream looks like this, and it wants me to connect my wallet. So I will connect it. So Cream again has a lot of options, okay? It has quite a big selection of tokens that you can supply to. Now, I don't supply anything to this yet either, but there is two that I've been considering, and one is this wallet has some YUSD. I was considering doing this because 6.5 on my yield-bearing Volt token, which is a pretty good idea. And I was considering this because I do have some DPI in here as well. But there are some things you need to consider, okay? All of these protocols, AAVE is going to have to do this, Compound's going to have to do this, and Cream, you're going to have to bear in mind of this. There are 3 transactions. So like normally a protocol asks you for 2, authorized to spend, and then deposit of token. This one has authorized to spend, deposit of token, and collateralize. So you can put your ETH in here, or you can put your YUSD in here, and you can start earning it. But if you want to borrow against it, then you need to collateralize it. And then you're going to need to make another transaction to actually borrow the tokens. So if you're actually wanting to borrow, you're going to pay 4 gas fees. Now they're not going to be all the same because some are cheaper than others, some are more complicated than others, but there's going to be 4 gas fees, 4 transactions. So you got to keep that in mind. So let's say I wanted to put this in. Just supply it. I don't want to borrow against it. This is something you have to always look. So my supply is 6.55%, right? So let's go with, let's go to the one I've already enabled, the DPI. So I've already enabled it, and let's say I wanted to supply max, all of it. I go to supply. I get my MetaMask, comes up, and it asks me to pay right now about $6.34. Okay, so that's not too bad, right? But let's take a look at how much this much DPI is worth, okay? So here on CoinGecko again, the DPI is worth about $88. So let's put that in there. Let's clear all this. $88.03, $88.03. And then we swing back over to here. And we see I have about 2.57 of them. Oops, 88.3 times 2.57. And I have a value of DPI of about $226 or let's go $225 just to make it easy. Now, like I said, the cost of depositing is going to cost me $6.37. So should I do this or not? Okay, I should figure that out. So we want to find out how much is $6.35. So we take $6.37 divided by 226. And we see that it's going to cost me 2% of my value to deposit it. So how long is it going to take me to get my money back? Now there is compounding in there, so it's not exactly right what the math I'm going to do, but I'll give you a general idea. So what I'm going to do, I take a look at the interest rate is 13.50 right now. So just take 13.5 divided by 12 months. So 1.2. Each month I'm going to make 1%. So I said it's going to cost me about 2% to put it in. So, this is really rough math, but you get the idea. It's going to take me about 2 months to get my money back if this stays stable. So this is things you need to consider. This is why big money is so much better than little money, because gas kills it. It's going to take me 2 months just to make my money back. This is why I haven't done it. And this number here is high now, but like the uni, it was high for like a couple weeks, and then it's down around 2%. This could seriously drop in a couple days, right? As people see this and start dumping all their DPI in here to try to take this yield. So this is something you need to keep in mind when you're deciding to do this. But I do think it's a very good idea to supply the tokens here because you maintain exposure to these tokens that you're long on, but maybe you can't use this to get any APY in yield farming or in some other methods. So you put it here, and then you can borrow something that is usable in yield farming to get you that token. Okay, so there's one more thing I wanted to show you. If I open up my MetaMask, let's cancel this interaction, and I just go Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain. And then Cream switches over automatically, opening up Binance Smart Chain. The website's actually the same, the URL, and now I'm on the Binance Smart Chain, and I can interact with this. Now, I've asked in the Discord, which I will show you now. So I asked in the Binance Smart Chain if I could simply provide collateral on Ethereum network and borrow against it on the Binance Smart Chain, which would be great. But they said no. This guy says no, and this is another question. So it's too bad. I think that would be awesome. It would work as a bridge. Then you could put your ETH into Ethereum and then come over here and borrow something to use on Binance Smart Chain. But it's not doable right now. So, do what you got to do. Now there's another thing I wanted to talk about, and I brought myself back over here to the Ethereum section of Cream Finance. And they have a whole bunch of other options here. They have some swaps, some swap pools. So you can provide liquidity here and do some swaps. Like, let's take a swap. You can swap between Swag and Cream and USDC. There's not a whole lot, but they've started to make some swap pools. You could provide provide liquidity to these pools and make some earning that way, but I'm not going to get into that too much. So here's the Cream reward. So you can pick up this Cream. Now the distribution or the emissions of this token have ended, so people are no longer being rewarded with Cream tokens for providing and utilizing the protocol, but you can still buy Cream on the network, out and about in the markets, and you can bring it here and you can swap. You can stake your Cream tokens here to gain this APY, but they are time locked: 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and you can also here, I would believe this should be staking the LP token. So there's a lot more to do here on Cream, and if you really want to look into it, take a close look at it, okay? So that pretty much covers the 3 that I'm going to talk about today. There are other ones as well, like 4Tube on Binance Smart Chain. There's a bunch of other ones, but these are the ones that are most popular and that I feel the safest using and recommending. So take a look at them, decide if you want to play around with this borrow and lending and borrowing lending, and try to make some money. Now there's one more thing, one little nugget that I want to explain to you. One of the things that Yearn Finance's version 2 vault is doing as a test vault right now is they are supplying DAI here, borrowing DAI, putting the DAI back inside, borrowing more DAI, putting the DAI back inside, borrowing more DAI, and putting the DAI back inside. Now remember, I told you every time you borrow and sell, every time you have a transaction of borrowing sell, you get paid comp tokens. So what the vault does then is collects those comp tokens every once in a while and sells them off. It's a compound vault. It's a DAI compounding compound vault, or I don't know. Let's see what they call it if it ever does come out. Again, it's test phase, so it's not really recommended that you put your money in there, but it is in production and it is using real money to test it. So that's about it. Thanks so much for watching, and goodbye. If you made it this far through the video, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. Now, if you want, you'll notice that you could always subscribe to my channel. If you may have noticed that my thumbnails have changed. Now, this is because I got a new microphone and it's improved my audio quite a bit. I hope you guys have noticed. All of these old videos If you see the brownish, grayish here, those are my old videos. The sound quality is quite, it's bad. So if you want to watch them, go ahead. But you know, I'm going to try to remake some of them, maybe not. But sometimes I'll link to these, and if you go to the links, then I apologize for the sound quality. Now, if you would like to support the channel, you can, you know, subscribe, you can like, you can comment below. You can come and check out my Twitter. I only ever tweet about cryptocurrency related topics, so you feel free to join me there. Link in the description. The final way you can help me is you can head over to Rarible and pick up a NTF if you like. You know, I try to make them cheap. I'm going to try to make some new ones as well. These don't seem to be too popular. But if you feel like throwing me a few bucks, you know, grab an NTF. Get an NTF out of the deal. So these are all of the links are in the description for these places. So feel free to check them out. And thank you again. Goodbye.